Hello everyone and welcome to the 8th episode of Live with Gregory Pappas. I am excited to be with you all today for this, the 8th episode of my live show. We're shaking things up a little bit here today. We brought the table over here. I hope the sound is good. We're using some new technology here. So please, as always, give me your comments. I do have my iPad here and I will be able to read some of your comments. I'm excited to have with me again today, as I have the last 2 Sundays or 3 Sundays. This is our 3rd time.
Yeah, 3rd time.
My cousin from Greece who lives here in New York now, Chef Akis Tzanakakis. As I've told you in the past, Akis is a chef in Greece. He lives here in New York City now. He's busy getting ready to reopen Elea restaurant in the Upper West Side. They're going to be opening when?
20.
On Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday.
This coming Wednesday, they'll be reopening for delivery. We're excited to have Akis here. I'm continuing a theme here of making things that are healthy, making things that are Greek, making things that are colorful, making things that you can share with family, with friends. And the thing for me is that this whole quarantine thing has brought me a newfound love for cooking. I spent a lot of time watching my mom cook growing up. She carried with her a lot of recipes from the old country, from Crete. I know I've got a lot of Cretans watching. Hey! And I'm very fortunate to have a lot of her recipes today that I'm sharing with you. A couple Sundays ago, we made bureki. We made bureki. A Sunday before that, we made gemista. Today we're going to make something equally unique, equally Greek, equally healthy, and equally as beautiful. And it's called Briam. I know most of you have had a version or two of Briam growing up. It's a very healthy dish. It's a very hearty dish. It's got many, many colors. And I'm excited to share it with you. I was inspired by this wonderful recipe that I saw online of a Greek blogger named Gabriel. And I'm going to share with you some of his contact information and his Instagram page in a minute. But first, I want to tell you what we've done here. And we've already done a good job in preparing. So, this dish that we're preparing is just as much tasty as it is an art piece. It really is. If you saw the picture that we used, it takes a lot of skill and a lot of patience and a really sharp knife. What you want to do is you want to get your vegetables that all have a similar circumference. I know that might be hard for something like a carrot, which you have a hard time finding this big, but I was able to find them at my local Whole Foods. I have baby eggplant. Don't use the giant eggplant, otherwise it's going to be a nightmare because you're going to have a giant piece of eggplant. I've used baby eggplant, I have a giant carrot, I have zucchini, I've got a green pepper and a red pepper, all, the long kind. I think they're called Italian peppers. I didn't get the big round ones. I have onions, and I have a lot of tomatoes. And I use the plum tomatoes, the long, you can see here, and I'll try to hold this up so you can see all of the vegetables are pretty much around the same size. And there's a reason for that. If you're making like yayas Briam and it's just all chopped up and you're going to throw it all together and you're going to cube it, it's okay. And Aki, you make a different kind of Briam that you told me about, which is like a milfei, right?
Yeah, like milfei. Τα πηγαίνουμε στρώσεις, ξεκινάμε με πατάτα, γενικά τα σκληρά λαχανικά τα θέλουμε κάτω, οπότε να έχουμε τα ζουμιά από τη σάλτσα και να ψηθούν και τα από πάνω να είναι
τα πιο μαλακά. So what he does in his version, not the version we're making today, but the version that he does, and he uses a glass Pyrex so you can actually see the colors, is he takes the hard vegetables, for example the potato, and puts a layer down at the bottom, and then he takes the harder the vegetable, the more down they go because they need the juices to cook. And what he does is he creates this beautiful colored milfei, like the dessert version of his Briam. So he goes white and then green and then purple. And then when you cut it, it looks really beautiful. We're not doing that today. We're doing Gabriel Nikolaidis' cyclical, gorgeous, beautiful Briam that I saw in his blog. Again, I will share that contact information with you in a little bit. So, we've already done some prep work, and I want to talk to you a little bit about what we've done. We've cut all of our vegetables. We've washed our hands. And by the way, in case people are asking, because somebody asked last week, why am I not wearing a mask? I'm in my house. My house is sterile. It's clean. Anybody who comes into my house has to wear a mask and gloves. And we're all eating here locally, so I'm not sharing this with anybody. That's why I'm not wearing a mask in my own house. So, we've cut a bunch of tomatoes. Akis, πόσες ντομάτες θέλουμε για το πιάτο αυτό?
Θέλουμε 4 ντομάτες για να
4
γεμίσουμε
plum tomatoes.
ένα ταψάκι, η οποία είναι...
This is our pan, it's round. So we've got 4 plum tomatoes. Look how big these carrots are. How cool is that? Giant carrots. We've got yellow zucchini. We've got potatoes. Eggplant. And again, I got the baby eggplant. I think they're called Italian eggplant. We've got onions. We've sliced everything. And we've got peppers. Now you're probably wondering how we're going to get these peppers to wrap with all the other vegetables. You'll see our little trick here, which isn't really much of a trick. So, again, as I said, this is much of an art piece. It's not just a beautiful meal. We have colors. It really depends on how you want to make this. There's a couple of tricks that I do. We use toothpicks. And what we've done is we start with a toothpick, para que siena, and I've already made one here. And it really doesn't matter how you do it or how you colorize it. You can, for example, start with yellow, and then you take a green, and then you take a tomato, and then I'll take an orange, although orange and red are pretty close. And then I'll take the purple eggplant. So I'm making a little souvlaki here, right? What am I missing? I'm missing a potato. And don't worry about your peppers yet. I'll tell you what to do with your peppers in a bit. Tomatoes are a really big part of this dish, so you want to use as many tomatoes as possible. You can see how beautiful it starts to look and how all the colors are just exploding on here. So you don't need to do this for every single one. You really only need to do this to start, because you want this to start in a beautiful cyclical way. Now, the other thing we've done in prep is we've taken all of the leftovers from the vegetables. Δεν πετάξαμε τίποτα.
Τίποτα δεν πετάμε, όχι, τα έχουμε κάνει όλα blend, τα οποία τα χρησιμοποιούμε. Είναι η βάση και είναι η σάλτσα μας, τα οποία τα έχουμε εδώ πέρα όλα.
So we've taken all of our leftover vegetables, we've put them in the blender, and we've made this mix of all these vegetables. It looks yellow because that's the predominant color, but it's okay. I mean, you're not going to see much of this. And we're using this, it's nice and thick. You don't want to blend it too much to turn into liquid. Το θέλουμε για να είναι βάση, έτσι.
Ακριβώς, το θέλουμε να είναι βάση. Και επίσης, επειδή έχουμε πολύ ωραία χρώματα εδώ πέρα, δεν θέλουμε να βάλουμε έξτρα πελτέ ή οτιδήποτε κόκκινο για να φαίνονται τα χρώματά μας να είναι όμορφο.
So we don't want to put too much tomato sauce in here. We want to keep the colors vibrant of the vegetables. The other thing that we've done, we've cheated a little bit. And I'm going to be slow about this to give you time. We have a pesto here. How did we make a pesto? Very easy. Don't think this is too complicated. We have a mix from the blender of basil,
mint, parsley, and dill.
Basil, mint, parsley, and dill.
And olive oil.
And of course, olive oil. And I'm going to give her another shout out because it's really what brings a smell, an aroma, and flavor of Greece into my house. I use Maria Loy's olive oil. We're lucky here in New York City. that we can get Maria Loy's products at Whole Foods and almost every grocery store in the city. And from what I hear from Maria, soon to be all around the country. Me to καλό, I hope that all of you will have access to this wonderful olive oil because it's really what reminds me of Crete and it reminds me of the smell. I mean, I can smell it right now. Βάζουμε πρώτα λάδι κάτω για να μην κολλήσει.
Θα βάλουμε λίγο λαδάκι εδώ γιατί μέσα στο μείγμα εδώ πέρα δεν έχουμε λάδι.
So we haven't put any olive oil in our vegetable mix, our leftover vegetable mix. We're going to put a little bit of olive oil on the bottom. We need liquid to cook these vegetables. And Akis is going to talk to us. Now, while he does this and he starts getting this ready, I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the questions, comments that I have been getting. A lot of people ask me where I get my recipes and where I get my inspiration. And I'll interrupt my own comments. See, he's laying a little bit of his sauce down, and as you can see, it's very thick. It's a thick sauce. And it serves as more of a base for us, more of like a cement, if you will. And he's adding now a little bit of pesto, which is the vegetable, or the green pesto that he made with mint, parsley, dill,
parsley, mint, basil.
And basil. Mint. Now, I have my own little basil garden. Okay. I've got my own little garden going on here. And, you know, I don't buy those little plastic containers for $4.99 that have 3 sprigs. I usually get a plant. And like I did here, I have my own fresh mint here. I bought the plant from, I think, Whole Foods or with the grocery store. And every now and then when I trim it and I use it, I wish you could smell it. It smells really good. I trim it, but then what I always do is I take a piece and I put it in water. And after about a week, the roots start to grow. And then you just stick this back in dirt and you have a new basil, a mint plant. I've done the same thing with my basil. You can see here how it's rooted already. And I'm just going to take this, and that way you don't have to keep going back to the grocery store to buy those little plastic packets. You know what I'm talking about because I used to buy them too. So, Akis is now, what we've done is we've put a little bit of our base in here with olive oil and a little bit of our herb pesto.
Salt and pepper.
Salt and pepper. And we take the first little souvlakia of vegetables that we started, and you only need to make about 3 or 4 of these. You don't need to make a lot because they're going to serve as your starter. Now, you lay it down there, right? And then you want to take your pepper, because that was the hard part. Peppers aren't going to stay in. And then we'll take our second one. Okay, and now you want to make sure you take the toothpick out. You don't want to leave the toothpick in. It's very important. You don't want your guests eating toothpicks. Sometimes you have to pull. There we go. Oh, and I just messed it up. So it's okay. You're going to have that. And the good thing about this is that it doesn't matter because you can wipe all the sauce off on top. But you want your little souvlakia. See, now it's already standing up. You only need to do like 2 or 3 of them. And now look, we have 2 already standing up. So the problem is when I first tried this dish, I would take a piece and I'd lay it in and it'd go flat. I would take 3 pieces and lay them in and they'd go flat. And then when I experimented with the toothpick, all of a sudden there were about 5 or 6 vegetables here that were all in a row and it laid in really nicely. So here we go again. Here's another one. And then when you get your start, right? When you get your base of 3 or 4 of these little skewered vegetables, then all you have to do, and you want to use an order. Θέλουμε σειρά, έτσι, να βάλουμε χρώμα, μην τα βάλουμε όλα μαζί.
Όχι, χρώμα.
So we're going to take a potato, we'll take a tomato.
Zucchini, eggplant.
And now this is where your art comes in. You also want to be very careful how you lay everything. You want it to look nice. Some people I know who are probably going to be really ADD are going to want to have red, green, white, red, green, white. That's fine too. You can play with colors. There's so many things you can do. So Akis is going to continue filling up our tray. We have left some of the vegetables unchopped here so he can show you. You really, really need prοχώρηση. You need a sharp knife because you don't want to use one of those, πώς τα λέμε αυτά, mandolino.
Μαντολίνο μπορούμε να χρησιμοποιήσουμε, αλλά το μαντολίνο δεν είναι και τόσο εύκολο. Είναι πιο επικίνδυνο από το μαχαίρι μας, γιατί μπορεί να φύγει το χέρι και να κοπούμε.
Yeah, so it's best to use, if you have a sharp eye and a sharp knife, it's best, that way you can control the width of each vegetable. So, προχώρηση. A lot of people ask me where I get my inspiration. And obviously, my biggest inspiration comes from my mother. My mother taught me how to cook. My mother gave me my first start. But I also have 3 cookbooks that I rely on. And I'm going to try to paste the link right now. I'll do it in a bit. My cookbooks. So, The Greek Diet is one of my favorite cookbooks. It's by Chef Maria Loy, who is my neighbor and my friend and has a wonderful restaurant down the street. But that's not why I'm plugging her cookbook. I'm plugging her cookbook because it's not just your typical beautiful pictures and recipes and, you know, the kind of recipes that never end up looking the way they're supposed to, and you're like, but why? I followed this. The book has a lot of really cool facts and information about nutrition. I learned how to make my own nut butter in 5 minutes without using any butter. She's got so much really, really cool nutritional tips in here. She also has a recipe in here on how you can make your own Greek yogurt. And I really enjoy this book. I've learned a lot about what we eat. It is a bestseller with HarperCollins. Maria, thank you for all of the inspiration, all of the education, all of the nutrition you've given to me. Akis is working hard here, making the Briam into a nice, beautiful presentation. Another cookbook that I absolutely love is, it's an art piece. It's on my coffee table. It also has a lot of stains because I do take it into my kitchen. And it's by another New York chef and restaurateur named Mina Stone. Mina shares wonderful recipes from her yaya. This is the book. It's called Mina Stone Cooking for Artists. Don't think that you need to be an artist to learn how to use this book, but it's beautifully illustrated, and there is one recipe in here that I use, and I've pretty much memorized it now, so I don't need to use it anymore. But it's Mina Stone's revithia. I don't know if you can see the picture, but it's absolutely old school revithia. Revithia are chickpeas. She uses fresh rosemary, lots of lemon, lots of olive oil. I use this book almost once a week for Mina's revithia. She's got a great recipe in here for some fish recipes, some desserts, all kind of stuff. So, Mina Stone, Cooking for Artists. I will put the link in the comments. Akis is busy here doing this. Another cookbook that I use that a friend of mine sent me from Greece while I was in the middle of my chemotherapy and I had changed my diet and I was eating healthy and vegetable based. My friend Alexi sent me a book called The Cuisine of the Holy Mountain, Athos. It's a great book. It's got mostly plant-based recipes. It's by a monk named Epiphanios who lives in a monastery. The book is amazing. It's a little challenging for an American table because it uses kilos, it uses grams. Some of the recipes you have to play with because, you know, like in typical Greek fashion, you'll throw a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Unfortunately, the book is not available in America unless you want to pay $120 on Amazon. I have spoken to the publisher. We're going to try to get an order placed where we can bring the book to the United States in the fall. If you are interested in a copy of this book, just shoot me an email. Email, not just a comment, because a comment, I won't have your email address to contact you, but shoot me an email, greg@pappaspost.com, and I will reach out to you when we're able to get a book. And again, I'm going to put a link in this post at some point when I can get to my iPad, so that I can share with you where I get my cooking inspiration. So Akis is working away here. As you can see, now that you have your base, okay, even if some of the vegetables are starting to flop over, it's okay because you have your cement base in here and you just need to lift it up. And what you can do is stick one here, right? You can fortify your wall a little bit. It's just to get the first couple of bricks, if you will, bricks of vegetable in here that we used our toothpicks. Now, you can take individual pieces. Let's say I don't have enough red here, so I can put more red. I mean, you really have an opportunity to turn this into a beautiful art piece. You can get it so that they're all standing up. Again, the critical component of this is that you start with your liquid base. You want to make sure you have enough liquid in the base, and you also have the pesto that we made that you put a little bit because you want the flavors to come out. I'll reiterate for those of you who have just come onto camera, we're making Briam. This is Chef Akis Tzanakakis via Greece, lives in New York City. He's already done our prep work. We're making a fancy Briam that was inspired by a wonderful Greek blogger named Gabriel Nikolaidis. He's the cool artisan. Thank you, Gabriel, for allowing us to use your photograph, and thank you for the inspiration. Akis προχώρα. Akis is going to continue. He wants to show you how we're going to cut our vegetables and how you have to be very careful to make sure that you maintain the right distance, the right cut, so that you don't have vegetables. Plus, it's all about cooking too. So the thinner the vegetable, the easier they are going to be to cook. So Akis is going to cut.
Λοιπόν, έχουμε καθαρίσει τις πιπεριές μας όλες από την πάνω πλευρά. Έχουμε βγάλει όλα αυτά που υπάρχουν μέσα. Και αρχίζουμε.
Μιλά πιο δυνατά για να ακούνε.
Ωραία, ωραία. Κρατάμε το πίσω μέρος για να έχουμε βάση, οπότε στο κόψιμό μας να μην φύγει. Και ξεκινάμε. Οι λωρίδες μας θέλουμε να είναι όσο το δυνατόν πιο ομοιόμορφες.
We want to keep our slices to be exactly the same length.
Οπότε θέλουμε, δεν χρειάζεται να το κάνουμε γρήγορα, αρκεί να είναι σωστό. Ωραία. Λοιπόν, και εδώ το πίσω μέρος που μας έμεινε είναι αυτό που χρησιμοποιούμε από τα λαχανικά μας που έχουμε για να κάνουμε τη βάση. Λοιπόν, προχωράμε, το ίδιο ισχύει και για το καρότο, το οποίο έχουμε ήδη καθαρίσει απ' έξω και ξεκινάμε και κάνουμε τα slice, το οποίο είναι πιο εύκολο μεν από την πιπεριά, αλλά πιο σκληρό.
So the carrot is a little bit harder, you've got to be a little bit more careful. What we're making is these really beautiful slices.
Και πάλι το πίσω μέρος εδώ πέρα που ξεκινάει και είναι πιο μικρό, το κρατάμε για να κάνουμε τη βάση από τη σάλτσα μας. Το ίδιο ισχύει και με τη μελιτζάνα. Κόβουμε λίγο την αρχή και την κρατάμε για τη σάλτσα και ξεκινάμε και κάνουμε τα slice στο ίδιο μέγεθος.
So I've just started posting some of these links while Akis continues to cut the vegetables. I'm looking at all your comments. Maria Loy is on. Yashu Maria. I'm trying to make as many, respond to as many, what kind of baking dish are you using? Tina in Pittsburgh. Tina, it's just a round aluminum or stainless steel dish. You need a little bit of height here. So it could be a cake pan. You can even do it in a square Pyrex because the colors will show, but then you won't have a circle, obviously. So it really depends on whatever baking dish you have. This one here is a stainless steel prep pan, cake pan. Obviously, the more beautiful the pan, the more beautiful your presentation is going to be. Let me see some of the other comments. Andrea from Toronto. Hello, Toronto. You just bought Maria's book. All right, I'm glad. You're going to learn a lot about the book, not just about how to cook, but also about nutrition. It's a great, great book. Let me see the other comments. I'm going to do my best to answer as many of them as I can. Hi from Pittsburgh. Hi, Alexandra, my hometown, Pittsburgh. Akis is cutting away. Here's another challenge. Onions. Got to be very, very careful to keep the onion intact. Otherwise, it'll fall apart. But remember, we've already done prep, and we've already made our base, which has all of the vegetables in it. It's a nice thick base. It's got zucchini, it's got eggplant, it's got everything in here. And we've laid it down at the bottom so it's holding everything up. Plus, it's providing the cement that these vegetables need to stand up and to cook. We've also added our pesto, which is dill, parsley, mint, and basil with olive oil. And we put it in the blender. And I asked Akis earlier if he uses garlic in Briam, and he said no, he does not use garlic.
No, δεν χρησιμοποιώ. Μπορούμε φυσικά να βάλουμε, αλλά στη συγκεκριμένη συνταγή δεν χρησιμοποιώ.
Yeah, so he doesn't use it. In this particular version also, as you can see, we're making it completely vegan. It's completely 100% vegan. There are some people that like to put feta cheese in their Briam. We're not going to put any in today, but what you can do at the end is sprinkle some feta on top about halfway into the cooking, and Akis will tell us that a little bit later. We've also added extra virgin olive oil. I use Maria Loy's olive oil. It's the best that I've tasted because it comes from Crete. Shout out again to all my Cretans. Let me see some other comments here. I'll do my best to try to... Stu, I'm sorry if the links are not clickable. I will post them. They should be clickable on your desktop because we've done this in the past and no one's ever had a problem clicking them. So maybe they're not clickable from your mobile, but if you go to your desktop, you'll be able to do it. I'm so excited that so many of my friends in Pittsburgh are on here. I see a lot of my friends from Canada. Yasu, Vancouver. If you have any messages for me, for Chef Akis, let us know. He's going to continue making the Briam here.
Ένα μόνο που πρέπει να προσέξουμε είναι ότι την πατάτα δεν την χρησιμοποιούμε στο μείγμα που κάνουμε για τη σάλτσα μας.
Okay.
Οπότε κοιτάμε όσο το δυνατόν να πετάξουμε πιο λίγο γίνεται.
We want to not throw away as much as possible. In this mix of vegetables, Akis did not put potatoes in the mix. So we've tried to chop the potatoes as much as possible. Unfortunately, there are some ends that we did not use. The ends of the potatoes do not go into this mixture. But we did use everything else. Βάλαμε πιπεριά, βάλαμε κρεμμύδι, βάλαμε πάρα πολλά, έτσι.
Μελιτζάνα, πιπεριά, κρεμμύδι, ντομάτα, κολοκύθι σε δύο χρώματα, πιπεριές σε δύο χρώματα.
So, θα το τελειώσουμε τώρα?
Ναι, το τελειώνουμε.
So, the good thing about this is, as I showed you, we started with a toothpick. We made about 3 or 4 of these little vegetable souvlakia, and we laid them down. We pulled the toothpicks out, and then we started. Now, you really, and this could be a nice activity for you and your kids. You can teach young kids color. You can teach them repetition. You can say, okay, let's put a yellow in now, and then a green, and then a red, and then a white. So there's a lot of really exciting things that you can do. You can just, once you start, if you want your Briam to stand up, you can just continue to add and squeeze in. You also want to remember your peppers. You want to spread the flavors out as much as possible so you don't have too much pepper in one place. You want to keep your potatoes spread out. And we're going to make this as plump and thick as possible because we want the flavors to really blend. And the one vegetable that we use more of is tomatoes. Tomatoes are key to this. And as we said, we don't use any tomato paste or tomato sauce in here. We prefer to use more fresh tomatoes. So, we could do this a little bit longer, but I don't want to hold you guys because I don't know about where you are, but it's a beautiful day in New York City. And let's get a few more vegetables in here. I want you guys to see what we've done here. Now again, great activity for your kids. This is what we've done. This is our finished product. What do you think? It's beautiful. I wish you could smell it. I'm going to try to come around here and to give you a little bit of, how's that? Isn't it beautiful? So, το τελείωμα.
Ωραία, στο τελείωμα προσθέτουμε πάλι αλάτι πιπέρι.
Salt and pepper. I'm posting now the link to Gabriel Nikolaidis' website, which I think is absolutely cool. It's called The Cool Artisan.
Προσθέτουμε ελαιόλαδο.
Salt, pepper, olive oil on top.
Ωραία. Λίγο από το μείγμα μας από τη σάλτσα, όχι πολύ, γιατί ήδη έχουμε και τα λαχανικά θα βγάλουν αρκετά ζουμιά.
So now we're putting on top our sauce. Now we're being a little bit, messy here. Usually what Akis told me is he would try to put as much as possible in between. Now remember, this is going to cook, so you're not going to see this yellow blob of sauce on top of your.
Το χρώμα στη συνέχεια θα είναι πολύ.
Yeah, the vegetables are all, the sauce is all going to cook on top. It's going to turn into liquid, and it's really going to help cook everything. So we're not ruining our design here.
Ωραία. Και τελειώνουμε με λίγο πέστο.
Now he's going to put some more pesto. Εδώ πρέπει να προσέχουμε όμως, επειδή είναι πράσινο, θέλουμε να το βάλουμε μόνο για να μην χαλάσουμε.
Ακριβώς.
So what we're doing now is he's putting the green pesto. The yellow sauce is going to cook. You don't have to worry about it too much. The green pesto, green is green. So what you want to do is but you still want the flavor. So you want to put this in between here. You want to use this kind of as an accent. Because if you put it all on top, it's going to turn all your vegetables green, and then there was really no purpose in taking all this time to decorate. So I'm putting everything around here. It also does a beautiful coloration here. Now this too is going to cook. Και αυτό θα μαγειρευτεί λίγο. Βάζουμε και στο πλάι, έτσι, βάζουμε και εδώ λίγο. Try to get it in as much as possible. You want to blend your flavors as much as possible. Get this in. I wish you could be here. I wish Facebook had a smell button because this whole thing just smells absolutely amazing.
Αν θέλουμε φυσικά μπορούμε να κρατήσουμε λίγο από το πέστο μας και να βάλουμε στο τελείωμα όταν βγει από το φούρνο που θα έχει ακόμα πιο έντονο άρωμα. Μια πινελιά για το...
So he said we can save some of the pesto for the end. Once we take it out of the oven, we can add some on top because the aroma, the flavor is just absolutely amazing. I don't know if I forgot anybody. Some people are asking for my email address. My email address is Greg, G-R-E-G, at pappaspost.com. P-A-P-P-A-S-P-O-S-T.com. Email me if you're interested in a copy of the Cuisine of the Holy Mountain, unless you want to pay $120 on Amazon. We'll probably be able to get a couple cases of the book and share it with you. The other books are in the link that I'm going to be sharing with you shortly. Maria Loy's The Greek Diet and Mina Stone's Cooking for Artists. So, το μαγείρεμα.
Ωραία, το μαγείρεμα όπως είναι, το σκεπάζουμε με αλουμινόχαρτο, έχουμε προθερμάνει το φούρνο μας στους 325 Fahrenheit.
325 degrees Fahrenheit.
Το προσθέτουμε, το αφήνουμε περίπου 45 με 50 λεπτά σκεπασμένο.
45 to 50 minutes covered with aluminum foil. Very important you start this. We did the yemista this way also. We cover them with aluminum foil because we want the heat and we want this all to cook on the inside.
Λοιπόν, και στη συνέχεια το βγάζουμε από το φούρνο, το ξεσκεπάζουμε, δυναμώνουμε τη φωτιά μας στους 375.
After, πόση ώρα είπαμε?
45 με 50 λεπτά.
45 to 50 minutes covered with aluminum foil at 325. Then we take it out of the oven, we remove the aluminum foil, we increase our temperature to 375.
Exactly. Για περίπου 20 με 30 λεπτά.
For 20 to 30 minutes. You want the color, you want it to cook on top. So 20 to 30 minutes at a lower temperature, 325. 325.
And 375?
We started at 375?
No. Προθερμαίνουμε το φούρνο στους 325.
Sorry about that, guys. Preheat to 325. Cook for 45 to 50 minutes.
Exactly.
With aluminum foil. Then we take the aluminum foil off.
Remove the temperature.
We lower the temperature
to 375.
We raise the temperature to 375 and cook for 20 to 30 minutes.
Exactly.
Okay? What if we want to add crumbled feta on top? When should we add the feta so it doesn't burn?
Then we remove the aluminum foil.
When we illumine the aluminum foil, we can add the feta. You don't want to put it on from the beginning because you know it's going to burn and it's not going to cook well.
Και χρησιμοποιούμε scrambled feta.
Crumbled feta. We don't want to put chunks of feta on top. We want to put crumbled feta on top. So I hope all you enjoyed this dish. I'm going to do right now one more time. I'm going to post the link to the cookbooks, and I'll do it again later. The video is going to stay online. I also want to thank all of you who continue to watch every Sunday and during the week. I do the Pappas Post because I enjoy sharing stories with you. You know, we write anywhere between 50 and 75 articles a week on the website. We couldn't be able to do any of this without your support. I do hope that some of you will click the support link and decide to support the work that we're doing with a small contribution, a small monthly contribution, $5 a month, $10 a month, whatever you can afford. It's the fuel that keeps our servers going and keeps our security of our website going. We really, really need your support. I also want to give a very special shout out to a woman that I love very much. Maria Χρόνια πολλά, my mother-in-law, my pethera, is celebrating her birthday today. I'm not going to tell you how old she is. She's in Athens celebrating. Χρόνια πολλά, Maria, να σε χαιρόμαστε. I also wanted to give a special shout out because all of this came about last week when I was talking about some super moms during my last cooking demonstration. If you recall, it was Mother's Day, and I was inspired to start talking about all these amazing moms because of one in particular that I have known for many years and have admired her work. And that mom is Danielle Carmanos. Danielle was the inspiration behind me starting to share these mother stories last week. In the end, I didn't even mention Danielle last week, and I did it intentionally because she was supposed to be on the show today. We were going to do a remote feed, but unfortunately something came up. The weather is great where she is, and she's out celebrating and golfing with her family and her boys. But I just had so much I wanted to talk to about with Danielle. She and her husband Pete are two of our country's, of our world's most prominent philanthropists. She's got 4 kids of her own, and she's doing an amazing job raising them. I will have that conversation with Danielle very soon. I don't know if she's watching now. She's probably out golfing, but Danielle, we love you, and be well. Ρωτάει μια κυρία από το Pittsburgh, από το χωριό μου, αν μπορείς να βάλεις χαλούμι ενδιάμεσα. Ψήνει το χαλούμι καλά.
Το χαλούμι θα ψηθεί, αλλά επειδή το έχουμε πολλή ώρα και δεν είναι κάτι γεμιστό να το κλείνουμε, δεν είναι πολύ καλή ιδέα. Γιατί θα λιώσει...
Not a very good idea because it's exposed. Halloumi is good when you put it in something, like into a stuffed tomato, or it's got a cover. But if you leave it exposed and you cook it for so long, it's probably going to get unattractive and not very yummy because it's probably going to cook too long.
Μπορούμε να βάλουμε από πάνω, αλλά και πάλι δεν είναι το τυρί το οποίο θέλουμε.
It's not the ideal cheese
δεν έχει
for
την
this
υγρασία
particular
που
dish.
πρέπει για να γίνει ομοιόμορφο.
It doesn't have the moisture necessary for a dish like this. I think as an alternative to feta, μπορούμε να βάλουμε goat cheese.
Μπορούμε να βάλουμε goat cheese, of course.
We can put goat cheese on top, sprinkled goat cheese.
Είναι πιο εύκολο κιόλας να το βρουν εδώ πέρα. Και ό,τι έχει να κάνει σε λευκό τυρί, το οποίο είναι παρόμοιο με τη φέτα. Δηλαδή μπορούμε να βρούμε μανούρι,
αθότυρο,
μυζήθρα.
So that's if you want to add cheese. So I want to thank all of you again very much. I hope that you will click the support link and support the work we're doing. I've got several exciting shows planned for the rest of the week. Thank you all. Happy Sunday. Be safe, be well, and above all, be healthy.